Hello. It is currently around past midnight on November 17th, 2022, the day before Scarlet and Violet release day. Who sleeps away and whatnot. But what I wanted to talk about today, well, first off, got a haircut. I didn't want to wear a hat because that's what I have, and I look weird with or without it. This just kind of makes me look bald, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm bald and I'm hiding my baldness. But yeah, that's pretty much haircut. It looks meh. Barber kind of ruined it pretty bad. Not very happy with it overall, but it needed to be done. So, what am I doing with today's video? I want to do some VGC stuff. So, the leaks have been out for a while, and I've been looking at the leaks. And there's some interesting things to talk about, things that have been added, things that have been taken out, buffs, nerfs, the works. And I want to talk about some of the returning Pokemon, maybe talk about some of the newer Pokemon later on. I'll put a spoiler warning. I want to keep this relatively spoiler-free for now, but later on I might decide that for the sake of matchup and whatnot, I would do that. So there should be a thing here with the Pokemon changes. Here we go. So there's a list of changes within the game. The game's code, Pokemon that have been released, Pokemon that have not been released. And what I also want to talk about is some of the new Pokemon that are getting added. Sorry, some of the Pokemon that are going to be in the Pokedex and how good they're going to be, I think. Pokemon that are going to be really important to the meta. And obviously, some of them we do know, some of them we don't. It's gonna be very interesting. Talking about everything. So I guess we're gonna see how this works out. There are a lot of changes to a lot of Pokemon for this game, and some of them are really good, some of them are bad. But we're gonna be talking about some of that stuff. So let's switch on over to this. And Opera, you wanna work? That one? There we go. So we're going to go to the top of the list. And right off the bat, we can see some pretty interesting things. Also, we're going to be... I want to flip this. I'm going to flip it vertical. Nope, now I'm upside down. Transform it, flip that way, and then flip it one more time. And there we go. Now it's the right way. Alright, so we're going to move me out of the way and get rid of that. I'm just going to go into this corner over here. So, first off, we can see some Charizard nerfs, getting rid of a few moves. Scorching Sands, of course. Defog, Roost. Roost is a pretty big one, although Charizard never really ran Roost in VGC. Wigglytuff getting Nasty Plot, that's pretty good. Swords Dance on Doug Trios, that's okay. These aren't really Pokemon that we use. But here's the first big change we can see, which is Nasty Plot on Golduck and Power Gem. Power Gem's not as big. It could, of course, be good coverage if it needs it, because what does Golduck usually fight? It fights... Well, it's weak against electric, it's weak against grass. What else is water weak to? I feel like there's one more thing. Water. Water, none. Oh, it's only weak to grass and electric. I got them. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Power Gem will be good against flying types. Ice types. Ice types are gonna pick up in usage, so Power Gem might be good early meta, but it might lose its usage later on. But Power Gem is a pretty powerful move. And yeah, it's not that bad. Stealth Rock, we don't really care about Stealth Rock. The first big change is Hisuian Arcanine now. I don't think Hisuian Arcanine is going to be good, like at all. This thing, it's fire and rock type. Terrestrialization helps it a little bit, but why wouldn't you just run regular Arcanine at that point? But it gets Rock Head, which gets rid of any recoil, which is good when you're using Flare Blitz, and good when you're using its new move, Head Smash, right there. It also has Extreme Speed, Close Combat, Psychic Fans, Morning Sun moves that regular Arcanine got in Sword and Shield. The other big nerf is that Scald isn't in the game pretty much. Only, like, it's not a TM anymore, and there are only 2 Pokemon that can learn it without TM, and that's Volcanion and that's Simipour, neither of which are in the game. It also doesn't get these moves. We only care about Scald really, which is the real big one to Slowbro, because it lets Slowbro deal with bigger threats now. It did get replaced with a new move that lowers attack, but overall it's not as worth it as Scald is, because then you get the chance to burn even if you didn't. It has 80 base power, I believe, whereas this move only has 50 base power. It's Chilling Water, that's the name of the move. But it's honestly, it's debatable whether or not it'll be good. Alolan Muck I know, well, I didn't play in that metagame. I know that Alolan Muck was good in the 2017 meta. Because Poison Dark, it's a pretty good type. It's not an overpowered type or anything, but it's a pretty well-balanced type. And if you gave this thing Recovery, it would be really good, because I know it had to run, like, the Figgy Berries, Agave Berries, the other kinds of berries. I don't remember them all right now, but, like, those types of berries, so it could get a lot of health back. But with Drain Punch, it could be pretty good. Like, just getting that recovery back is really, really nice for it. So, yeah. Next up, we don't really care about Gengar. It loses Sludge Wave, not a big deal. Scyther losing keeps close and... Oh, it keeps close combat. Oh, okay. So it gets close combat. I assume maybe it got it in Sword and Shield or it got it in Legends Arceus. Here's a big one right here. The evolutions all getting Calm Mind. It's not just Sylveon anymore. Now Vaporeon gets it. Vaporeon's a big one because Vaporeon, it has decent bulk. Like, if you look at Vaporeon, it does get some pretty good stats. Like, it has a very high base HP. It has good special attack. It has decent moves. But it just doesn't have the damage output to make it useful. But with Calm Mind, it can be, and that's a big one. So we might be seeing some Vaporeon action, maybe some more Espeon. That's really it. Glaceon won't be used. Glaceon just is an ice type, and it's bad. Next up, we have the 3 legendary birds as Galarian forms getting Tailwind, which is pretty good. I know Zapdos and Articuno could definitely run this. I don't know how much Moltres would. It doesn't get affected by Taunt, so that's pretty good. But besides that, yeah, Tailwind's always a good move to have, so I guess we'll see if it's useful. Encore on Dragonite, we don't really care. Earth Power, Earth Gem, Earth Power, Power Gem on Mewtwo. It's okay, but it definitely isn't the best. Like, of course, Mewtwo isn't a very good Pokemon in general, so... Alright. Here's another big one, and that is Hisuian Typhlosion. And this is a good Pokemon. Like, it gets Frisk, which is a good ability to have in VGC, because then you get to learn... If you lead that thing right away, you get to learn 2 of the items of their team, and that's half the items. And they can help you learn a lot about a team. Like, if you figure out that they lead with the Focus Sash and the Assault Vest, you don't have to play the guessing game later. And second off, it gets Eruption, which, on a Pokemon like Hisuian Typhlosion, who is a Fire and Ghost type, who can't be affected by Fake Out, it's really good. Not being affected by Fake Out's always a good thing. And it gets Eruption, and you can run in like a Scarf on it to make it go really, really fast. Outspeed everything, go with high power type Eruptions. It's of course not going to be as strong as Torkoal, I believe, because like Torkoal has an insane damage output because it sets up the sun. But what you could do is you could also run Torkoal plus Typhlosion, and then you can switch Torkoal out immediately, put it in the back for later. Bring in like Farigiraf or something. Bring in, I don't know, what the new Pokemon that are going to be good defensively. Farigiraf is obviously one that we already know, so I'm able to mention that one. Ampharos getting Dazzling Gleam. I love Ampharos. I have Ampharos plush over there, but I really don't think Ampharos is going to be good competitively, unfortunately. It's an electric type. Electric types are decent, but if you're going to run an electric type, there are better electric types. Like, even like Jolteon is good compared to Ampharos. It has low base speed, but their Pokemon like Electros, I think, is going to be a good Pokemon. And then there's some new Pokemon I think that are going to be good. They're electric types. Besides that, Ampharos just gets outclassed by every other fast or slow electric type there is. So, unfortunately, Ampharos I don't think is going to be good. I think Azumarill is going to be good. Like, of course, there hasn't been any major changes to its moveset. But it's going to get Belly Drum, it's going to get Aqua Jet, Play Rough. And I think it's going to be good with Cyclizar, who can set up basically, I think it's called Shed Tail, the move is. So basically, they set up a substitute and switch out, setting a substitute up for a full HP Pokemon that comes in. So you lead with Cyclizar, you use Shed Tail, switch out, bring Azumarill in, it can Belly Drum, it takes a hit, and then it's a 75 HP, like 75% HP, and they can't damage it for 1 to 2 turns, depending on what moves they use against it. And if Cyclizar is slow, like, I don't remember Cyclizar's stats based on the leaks, but even if it's fast, you can run Iron Ball on that thing and make it go last, make it bulky, make it go last, invest in HP, do whatever, and then just switch out. Like, just run Iron Ball Cyclizar, switch into Azumarill. That sounds really good on paper. Of course, we'll have to test that kind of theory out. But, yeah. Next up is Jumpluff. Jumpluff gets, what's Chlorophyll. And it gets Tailwind, it gets Pollen Puff, it gets Dazzling Gleam. These moves are all pretty good for Pokemon like Jumpluff. Tailwind is obviously really good, especially when it's not priority mon. And it's honestly very fast even out of sun. So you can always just use Jumpluff to get Tailwind up. You can do it to do a lot of things. Not much to say about Jumpluff. I don't know how good it'll be. It depends, really. Umbreon with Thunderwave. It's a debate between Yawn and Thunderwave for me, because Yawn is really good, and it makes you need to... It puts pressure on your opponent to either switch out or fall asleep for up to 3 turns. And that's the thing, so... I don't know. Yawn is really good. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Because obviously Paralysis is really good, and getting on Umbreon is really good too. Yeah. So we'll have to see. And it also gets Calm Mind, which just means boosted special defense, which could be good. I know Slowking, it doesn't say here, but Slowking I think gets a new move called Chilling Reception. And basically, it's like Parting Shot, except it doesn't lower any stats, it just switches out and sets up the snow. And basically what the snow does is snow makes it so that it's basically hail, but it raises the defense of ice types, which is a major buff to ice types, something that's been needed for a long time. So ice types might be viable for once, but obviously it's very niche because the only snow ability setter is Abomasnow, and Abomasnow is not the best. Like, Abomasnow is pretty weak, so having a bulky Pokemon like this that can move slowly, switch out, set up snow, switch into, like, there's a new really strong ice type I've been theorizing with that I might talk about at the end of the video. But, like, you could use that, and it sounds really strong to be able to just switch out and then come back in later on, and then use Slowking later on, because it's also a Trick Room setter. It gets Flamethrower, gets coverage against strong steel types, which are going to be pretty common, I think. But yeah. Scizor, it gets... Oh, Dunsparce gets a new move. Hyperdrill. Hyperdrill, it's faint, but I think it's like 80 base power or something. I'm not 100% sure. It's a very strong move, but it breaks Protect as far as I'm aware. I might need to like double check that. I might put it on screen if I remember. Scizor, I think this Pounce move, it lowers speed, so it could be okay, but Scizor doesn't really care about speed. It either needs to run in Trick Room or it needs to use Bullet Punch, so... we don't care about Sneasel, Blissey. Tyranitar, it lost Superpower and High Horsepower, which were good moves for it. It's sad to see those go. But at the end of the day, Tyranitar got a big buff in Terrestrialization being a thing. So, and getting Power Gem isn't really anything. It makes its special sets more viable, but I don't know, it depends. Gardevoir getting Aura Sphere, losing Recover Ice Beam. That's alright. It wasn't... Gardevoir is not really a Pokemon that uses these kinds of moves anyways. It might run Ice Beam as coverage, but Gardevoir is usually like Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, Choice Scarf. But yeah. Breloom, I think, is going to be a good Pokemon against Close Combat and Gunk Shot. And those are some pretty good moves if you use them properly. So we'll have to see. Hariyama, Headlong Rush and Drain Punch. So Headlong Rush was Ursaluna's new move, but it became more widespread, and basically it's a ground type close combat, which is very good, especially if you want to turn Hariyama into a ground type, because then ground type is a very good type. You get electric resistance, and I think electric types are going to be very prominent in this format. So having Stab, Headlong Rush, and then Stab like Drain Punch, which it also gets, that's pretty good. I think Hariyama will be pretty good, but I think there's going to be some other Pokemon that are being added that might also be good, that will fill similar roles. Wow. But I still think Hariyama is going to be very good. It gets Fake Out, gets so many things, and I don't know if it gets Swords Dance. I want to say it does, but I don't know. Using this hand, getting tired. Sableye getting Reflect Light Screen, basically becoming the new Grimmsnarl, except Grimmsnarl got better. Giga Drain, that's pretty good coverage and recovery, but Reflect Light Screen, that's pretty good. Medicham, we don't really care about. We definitely don't really care about Swallow. Like, these are pretty good moves for, like, stalling, so it could be good. But, Torkoal's gonna be broken. It doesn't matter if it gets Flare Blitz or if it loses Weather Ball. It gets Eruption, it gets Heat Wave. It has bulky sets with Body Press. It has everything and anything. It has the Sun. It has Lilligant. It's going to be slow. It's going to be fast. It's going to be everything. And it's going to be broken. And that's the important part. Tropius gets U-turn, Hurricane, Body Press. Could be okay. I'm not sure. But we'll have to see. Groudon. I actually did not know this, but Groudon is getting Crunch, Body Press, and Will-O-Wisp. And Body Press is pretty good. Crunch is really good. Will-O-Wisp is pretty good. Body Press is the big one for me here, because I think Groudon has a pretty high defense stat. And then you have Straw and Fighting type coverage. But yeah, we'll have to see. This is, of course, restricted formats, and so is Rayquaza here. He gets U-turn Wild Charge, loses V-Create. Nobody was really using V-Create. Obviously, getting a good electric move is good for Rayquaza, because it can turn into an electric type. I think electric type is a very good typing to turn into. You only have one weakness, and you're likely not gonna use a ground type move on a Rayquaza to begin with. So if you turn into electric type, it can catch someone off guard, and then you lose your weaknesses as a dragon and flying type, which isn't very good. And you get stab wild charges. So Gastrodon is gonna be good, I think. There are a lot of good water types in this format, like Golduck and the sorts. So Gastrodon obviously going to be really good. Gets Chilling Water instead of Scald. That's the lowering attack move I was talking about earlier, so we'll see how that goes. Drifbloom gets Air Slash, which is actually really good because I'm pretty sure the only special flying type move it got before was Gust, and that's Gust, so that's obviously pretty good. Mismagius, Honchkrow, get U-turn, Hurricane, Dragon Kiss for Mismagius. That's okay. Garchomp gets Liquidation. That's pretty good. Getting Liquidation is really good. That gives you Water-type Terrestrialization. Lucario gets Mach Punch. That's pretty good. Toxicroak Close Combat. Ice Spinner. I don't know what Ice Spinner does per se, but hopefully it can be good. Gallade gets a new ability called Sharpness, which increases the power of sharp, like, slicing type moves like Sacred Sword, Leaf Blade, Psycho Cut, so that'll be pretty good. It'll make Gallade a little more useful. The Lake Spirits get this new move called Mystical Power, which boosts special attack, I believe, so that might make them a little more viable. Dialga gets Focus Blast. That's pretty good for it. Palkia gets Trick. Heatran gets Power Gem. Power Gem is pretty good. Cresselia gets Lunar Blessing, which was in Legends Arceus, I believe, but I'm not sure. Arceus gets all these moves, but we're never going to be able to use Arceus, so it doesn't really matter. Samurott gets Sharpness instead of Shell Armor as a hidden ability, which is pretty good. Same deal as Gallade here. Gets all these moves, and its signature move sets up hazards on the other side, which could be good. I don't think it will be. I don't think it'll be as useful as you think. These are pretty big nerfs to Crocodile, I think. High horsepower knockoff Darkest Lair. Not getting those moves is pretty big for Crocodile, since those were really good moves for it. It gets Gunk Shot, which isn't the greatest. I want to talk about Wave Crash, because Wave Crash is basically water-type Flare Blitz. And there are some new Pokemon that get this move, and I think it's going to be really good. So we're just gonna have to see how that goes. Assuming Zoroark gets all these moves, we'll see how it works. Not really anything I can say about it. Sosbeck gets all these moves. I don't think it's gonna really matter. Electros getting Close Combat Liquidation, Stomping Tantrum, that's really good for it. I think Electros is going to be a very good Pokemon in this format. So, hopefully it does some cool stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to it for a while. Iron Head on Haxorus doesn't really matter. Earthquake, Close Combat on Beartick, good-ish, especially with the Snowstorm buffs. Hisuian Braviary loses Defiant for Tinted Lens, which is not good in my opinion. I really don't think that's good. Defiant is a very good ability, and I think losing Defiant on a Pokemon is not what you want, so Hisuian Braviary is going to lose any sort of viability, I think. The Genie Trio, they all get their signature moves from Legends Arceus, I believe. At least they should. Thundurus loses superpower. Obviously, the Defiance set isn't going to be nearly as powerful in this format, because Dynamax kind of helped Thundurus be able to use moves like Fly and Wild Charge more consistently. Chestnut, Body Press, Close Combat, Super Fang, pretty good moves. We'll really just have to see. Greninja, Delphox, they get some pretty interesting things. Pretty much the same as Chestnut. Ash Greninja got nerfed, it's same stats as regular Greninja. And Battle Bond got nerfed too, only increasing attack, special attack, speed, which might have been what it was before, but now you don't turn into Ash Greninja. Talonflame's the same, Dragalge's the same pretty much, like we didn't really use these moves. Sylveon's pretty much the same, Dedene's the same. Hisuian Goodra gets Flash Cannon and Body Press, Shell Armor. That's not very good. Overcoat's better in my opinion. So I don't think Hisuian Goodra's really gonna benefit off of anything. Avalugg gets Icicle Crash. Hisuian Avalugg doesn't really get any better. Hisuian Decidueye gets Scrappy, which means you can use your fighting type attacks on ghost types, which is okay. Orcory gets Corviknight Dance of its own. Toxapex gets worse. Mudsdale gets Stone Edge. Bruxus gets Wave Crash, that's the Wave Crash I was talking about earlier. Spikes, Magearna, it's funny. Rillaboom gets heavily nerfed, loses all these moves, which made it really strong. Cinderace gets Swords Dance, but Protein got nerfed. I didn't talk about it with Greninja, but Protein got very much nerfed. It only works at the beginning of every battle. You've probably heard it already, but yeah, that's a thing. Shell Smash Dreadnought, Sandaconda, Hatterene loses Expanding Force, we knew. Grimmsnarl getting Parting Shot. I don't know how good this is. Because, like, Grimmsnarl's a good Pokemon. Why is it a good Pokemon, though? It makes your team bulkier. How did it make your team bulkier? Reflect Light Screen. But Parting Shot, usually in Sword and Shield, we never switched Grimmsnarl out that often. It stayed in until it died. That's how it worked. But with Parting Shot, you're switching out priority switching out, getting out of there, sending in a Pokemon for incoming attacks. And Grimmsnarl is a Pokemon that people want to get rid of, typically, because you don't want to get Thunder Waved after it sets up screens. So you'll want to get rid of Grimmsnarl pretty fast, which means people will be targeting that thing down. And, like, yeah, you can send in another Pokemon and Grimmsnarl can be used later on, but Grimmsnarl doesn't have Intimidate. It's not like Incineroar, where it has constant value throughout the entire game, no matter how many times you cycle it in and out. It has a good typing, it has pretty good stats, but like, in doubles format, where you're not sure what's going into your Pokemon at all times, it's difficult for me to put value on Parting Shot Grimmsnarl, honestly. That's my take on Grimmsnarl right now. That might change as time goes on, but yeah. Zacian got nerfed, Zamazenta got nerfed, unfortunately. Got body pressed, though, which is something it needed. Eternatus gets all these moves, doesn't really matter. Kafu gets a no guard. Yay! Urshifu gets Swords Dance. Which is just funny, because, like, who asked for an Urshifu buff? This thing already destroys everything. There was no changes to how Unseen Fist works. This thing's broken. It's gonna be broken. There's nothing we can do about it. It's gonna hit everything. It's gonna make us all cry. We're all gonna be sad. Regidrago got a buff. It gets Earth Power now. Regieleki lost Rising Voltage, I guess. Glastrier just lost a move. Spectrier gained some moves. Cleaver gets Sharpness. Loses some attack. Gets some special defense. Ursaluna's broken. Gets Belly Drum. Gets Facade. Stab is a ground type. Headlong Rush. It's broken. Basculegion gets Swift Swim, pretty good. Sneasler gets Unburden. Depends on how it works, I guess. And Overquill, it gets some pretty good moves, but I don't think it's going to be very good. And then Enamorus gets Superpower for its hidden ability that is Contrary. There we go. That's all the buffs, that's all the nerfs. I think I did a pretty good job going over things. I went over some Pokemon I think are going to be good, some Pokemon I think are going to be eh. And I don't think I'm going to be covering anything else in this video since it's already 32 minutes long. Yeah. Tomorrow, the game comes out, I'm going to be playing, and then I'm going to be team building until the ladder comes out. That's the plan, pretty much. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my little coverage of all of the buffs and nerfs. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe. Look forward to any new videos, any shorts I might do, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.